Up next, please welcome to the stage Gecko Robotics with Jake Loosararian, US Steel with Christian Gianni, and JP Morgan with Justin Krauss.
Hello. How's everybody doing? Good? Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, super exciting day here today. And really excited for the conversation we're about to have here today, both in the room and I guess we're streaming as well. Again, I'm Justin Krauss and lead a business for JP Morgan called Applied Tech, which is venture-backed robotics, space, semiconductors, some of the 11 of the 14 critical technologies from the DoD. So it's super important conversations here having right now. Even more important because we have two iconic companies. One of which, Gecko Robotics, we've known for about 5 years, which is incredibly exciting and hard to believe it's been that long. The other one, I'm very proud to say, US Steel, we were there at the beginning in 1901. I wasn't personally there, but John Pierpont Morgan actually, I was not. I know, sometimes I feel like it. John Pierpont Morgan actually bought Carnegie Steel from Andrew Carnegie and put it together. So this is like, selfishly a very exciting panel for a lot of reasons.
It's very poetic, yeah.
Very. Anyway, so thanks so much for taking the time, guys. Let's just kick it off here. I mean, I think the audience is well acquainted with you two and sort of what you do, but would love to talk a little bit about what you see in each other and the collaboration with each other. I don't know, Jake, if you want to start with that.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, for those that don't know, Gecko makes robots and AI-powered software to help to diagnose the health of and then optimize the performance of industrial assets in the physical world. So very much physical AI that helps to power artificial intelligence to actually make pragmatic impacts for sectors like energy and manufacturing and defense. You know, I think I've known Christian for, I don't know, maybe like 18 months, something like that. But what's always struck me about US Steel, especially off the backs of such an incredible announcement of partnership with Nippon and US Steel, is there is a moment of an energy where determinism and optimism gives me a lot of excitement about making manufacturing in steel something that we have never seen before. Now, one thing that's been exciting has been the vision of both Christian and his CEO, Dave, of saying and putting their foot in the ground saying we want to be the leaders of steel manufacturing. And it's very invigorating to hear someone who's been running a company very successfully taking such a bold statement and approach, and a realization that if AI and robotics aren't adopted, those that don't do that will get left behind. And so they want to lead the way. That's why I'm excited.
Yeah, no, well, I've only been at US Steel for a while, and actually talking about Dave Barrett, as Jake was just talking, he brought me on to hopefully turn us into a technology company that helps, that happens to make steel. So a little challenge there, right? But seriously, Dave has been a very great supporter. As you know, US Steel's been around for about 120 years, and I was in Jake's facility the other day. I was looking out the window and I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, I can actually see my office from here, right? Why the hell haven't we got together earlier? But Dave is really challenging us to adopt AI, and like Jake just says, I honestly believe the separation between the winners and the losers is going to be AI, and it's really great that two Pittsburgh-based companies, one very old, one very young, can get together and hopefully drive the next revolution here. We were obviously part of the first revolution. Maybe some of the people here in Detroit might debate that a little, but either way, we're going to hopefully lead the next revolution as we go here. Right.
Excellent. Well, in taking that AI point, because I think you think of US Steel, and AI is not the first thing that jumps to mind, but Jake, I guess I've heard you for years talk about the role of physical intelligence in enabling AI, and it would be great if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I think most folks in the audience, and I know my friend here to the right, we kind of have begun to get a sense of there's an amazing hype around artificial intelligence that's going to change the world. But what I hear from executive after executive after executive is like, bullshit. I haven't seen the impact. It's not impacting my bottom line. All this hype is great, but it's not actually pragmatic. I don't know, and I'm not seeing the benefits, and the bill of goods you're selling me is just not coming through. And so the thing I've been talking about is there is everyone knows shit in, shit out, right? That term. That is exactly what we should be thinking about as it relates to artificial intelligence, both hallucinating and not being able to do its actual job of powering better decisions. And so physical intelligence is this idea of going out and creating information and data that can power artificial intelligence to transform a company, transform it in a way that, again, is unfair, that uses IP and subject matter expertise to the advantage of that company. There's IP and subject matter expertise that US Steel has that no other company in the world has. Unlocking that for every single employee is critical, but then realizing that there's actually a bunch of information and data that simply just doesn't exist. And so you need robotics to go out into the real world and gather that kind of information like health data and process data, make it easier to onboard new sensors. You think about self-driving, we can't get self-driving without robots or cars going around with sensors and collecting data. You cannot power artificial intelligence without it. And so that's the way that we fundamentally build software, is from that foundation of creating the data with a really solid ontology that can help create better decisions for the folks on the ground and turn blue-collar workers into engineers. And that's our goal and ambition, and that's what Christian has saw in us as well.
Has anyone been in a steel mill here? Yeah, we've got a couple. So you know they're big, they're hot, you know, and they have lots of red-hot ribbons of steel flying around, right? And just like, and the major thing about those is they eat capital, right? They eat capital. We spend a lot of money every year just sticking our fingers in the dikes, making sure that these things are running properly. And this is where Jake and the team comes in. We talked about applied AI in my mind. It's like we're not just doing science here, we're actually applying science, which to me is an engineering and technology, right? And you know, you talked about the intelligence. Just like us, we have a brain, we have arms, we have legs, we have nerves for sensing, right? We have those in our plants. We have control systems, motors, sensors, all of that. But the real question, I think this is what I love about what Jake and his team is doing, we're not asking ourselves the right question. Is that data helping us solve our problems, right? And it's not, frankly. Let me give you an example. There's this thing in part of the steelmaking process called a Q-bob, right? It's a big vessel. It's part of getting the carbon out of steel when we turn it from pig iron into steel. And they wear out. They erode, they corrode, and we spend capital on those every year. Every year we spend millions of dollars keeping those things operating. And what Jake's team has been able to do is give us data about those assets instead of just coming in and replacing them on a time basis. And we have to do that to keep the plant safe and avoid outages. But instead of doing that, we can go in and we can surgically fix the things that need to be fixed. And what's really neat about that, it takes us less time to do that, takes us less capital to do that, and then we can redeploy that capital that we would have spent on hoping to grow our business, right? Doing the things that our customers want, better quality, new products, you know. Happy customers means more successful business, you know. Happy wife, happy life, and happy customers, happy shareholders, right? That's what we need to be doing, and having that data is absolutely critical.
Amazing. And sort of thinking about those data driven decisions that you're able to make, are you starting to see this real P&L impact, like as you think about, as you're planning, not for the next quarter, you're planning for years, right? Just because of the nature of these assets. Like, how do you think about that running massive business and the impact to the P&L? Is it specific project to project? Is it sort of like, how do you get to that?
You know, it's interesting when you want to bring something new into any company. The first thing you got to do is get your CFO on board, right? Of course, your CEO, he's already a supporter for us, but and then you've got to get the people in the plant who are going to be using this all day, every day on board, right? So coming back to the P&L, we've done a few small pilots, right? And what that is validating the thesis that by using Jake's technology, which is being born in the factories, not in the labs, right? It's real world technology. So validating what they've done in terms of being able to help us understand how we can surgically apply our capital has been validated in these pilots, right? And then, of course, I sit there with big dreams. We project that out and say, if we did all of this, does this give us a really nice return? Is this meaningful in terms of going forward? And we're putting that vision together right now. The initial pilots are looking good, and it should support us. And I heard someone talking this morning, you know, it's like when you want to do something in life, you've got to create some believers and they have some faith that it's going to work. Otherwise, you're always in this sort of permanent pilot mode of making happen. I believe in sort of a crawl, walk, run scenario where we crawl a little bit, then we walk really quickly, and during that walk stage, we're saying, is this really working? If it is, then invest like hell and go really fast. That's sort of where we're at.
Very interesting.
There's an old, Bill Campbell is called the $1 trillion coach, and an actual Pittsburgher as well.
Yeah.
Ran Intuit and coached Steve Jobs and all these people.
Yeah.
He said the same thing. It's just like if product's growing and it's working, pour fuel on the fire. And that's the mentality. If it works, pour fuel on the fire. And if you can do that, you're differentiated in an incredible way. Worked out well for Steve Jobs and Ben Horowitz.
Yeah. You notice the Pittsburgh theme here. I'm a Pittsburgh native, so I'm always going to push it that way, but these guys go happy.
We just came from the Energy and AI Summit with the president, so.
Which also is a Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Christian looks a lot more giddy than I do, so he must have slept well last night.
I mean, if we do half what they were pledging to do yesterday, I mean, it's just going to go.
What are you talking about? It's probably $100 billion.
Maybe it'd be more than they pledged yesterday. It'd be amazing.
Well, I think too, one thing that's important to understand, and you know, for the audience online and here, the description, what Christian is describing, we might think that's happening all the time. I'm telling you, it is not. There are AI companies, the ones that you all might think about in your head right now, that are getting booted out of the biggest companies in the world that have 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 8 months ago, announced big deals with these big companies. And their contracts are turning, they're turning. And I think the important thing you have to understand is that pragmatism wins out at the end of the day. An announcement might make a headline good, it might make a stock price go up for a couple days, but what is the long-lasting impact? And if we're playing long games, I mean, U.S. Steel here obviously knows how to play a long game, we have to think about not just the impact to the headline and to the stock price, but the actual impact on the core business. And so this is why we take a very disciplined P&L and financial look at the impact of artificial intelligence and robotics. No, these aren't just buzzwords. And so I think the audience should understand that what we're describing to you is quite fundamental, and it's also it's something that isn't happening across the sectors that you might be being sold a bill of goods that it is.
Interesting. Okay, so the P&L impact is kind of obvious, right? Even in sort of understanding how predictive analytics can help machine scheduling, whatever the case may be. The biggest sort of buzz recently relative to AI is like what's happening to the jobs, right? And like what happens if you bring in AI and robotics in a really meaningful way, and how does that impact? Could you guys talk a little bit about what you see? You're dealing with dozens and dozens, hundreds of companies, and obviously at U.S. Steel, how you see the impact of AI and the opportunities it creates, as well as maybe some of the challenges?
Maybe I would kick off is, with what we're doing with Jake is a little different than what people think. In the sense, AI's or the robot's going to replace my job. I see this as the robots enhancing people to be able to